and welcome back to another video on my channel. The video that I am doing today is one that I'm extremely excited for. I'm really looking forward to discussing this topic on this channel today. I haven't been this excited to discuss a topic in a video in quite a while, so I really hope that you guys enjoy this video as much as I enjoyed researching it. And with that all being said, let's get right into this case. This case starts in 1981 in Portland, Oregon. So it was 1981 in Portland in the fall when all of a sudden these arcade games started popping up in all of these arcades all over Portland. Obviously in the 80s arcades were extremely popular and kids would spend a lot of time in these arcades, so going to them and seeing these new games wasn't all that unusual at all at that time. It was actually quite normal. So this new game popped up and it was called Polybius, and this game was in an unmarked, just black box, which was a little strange at that time because most of the games like Pac-Man and the racing games were clearly marked to kind of indicate exactly what the game was. However, when they were doing test games and things like that, they would appear in these unmarked boxes, so it was a little bit strange, but it wasn't anything too alarming. Once you started playing this game, it involved these geometric patterns and all of these colorful colors, and many of the people who claim to have played this game compared it to that of Tempest. The company that created this game is called, and please excuse me if I completely butcher the pronunciation of this, but it is called Sinus Lotion. And they created the game Polybius, which again was popping up in some of the arcades in Portland, Oregon. Polybius was only released in select few arcades, again located in Portland, and there was only about, I think, like 5 of them. And these games quickly became quite popular in the arcades that they were located in. Many of the kids who played these games claimed that these games were very hypnotizing and almost addictive, but it wasn't like your normal newly released video game. These games were very strange, and many of the kids who claimed to have played this game came forward or said to their parents or whoever that while playing this game they noticed strange sounds that almost sounded like a woman screaming, which didn't go along with the game at all, coming from the game. And they also noticed these really weird warped faces inside of the video game while playing. But that isn't even the worst of it. Some of the kids in the area who had allegedly played this video game started to experience extreme nausea after playing the game. Some experienced really severe headaches. Some experienced temporary amnesia. Some of the teens in the area started committing suicide, which was also related to the game Polybius. Some of the kids who were playing this game had blackouts. Others just completely stopped playing video games altogether, and it is said that one of the kids who had played this Polybius video game even became an anti-video game activist. This is what initially made me want to talk about Polybius on this channel. Many people, actually majority of people who come across this game or the legend of this game believe that there is nothing to this except for the fact that it is like a creepypasta urban legend type of story. But I personally, after doing a deep dive into the research for this video, do think that there could be some truth to this urban legend. So an owner of one of the arcades that was said to have the game Polybius in it at that time came forward saying that it was super strange. The game was set up in the arcade, but many times these men dressed in all black suits would come to collect data from the video game. Now, they weren't collecting money, they weren't looking at any of the other video games in the arcade, they went straight to the Polybius game and took the data from that game. Now, this is something that doesn't usually happen in arcades, and many of the people who believe that there is some truth to the Polybius urban legend believe that if the game was in fact real, that the government was using this game or somebody was using this game as kind of like a mind control experiment, and that's why they were collecting the data from this game. And we now know today that mind control by the government, mind control experiments, things along those lines are very real. So this could actually be true. I also just have to throw in here that obviously it would be very hard to confirm whether or not this game actually existed, because obviously there's no evidence to suggest that it actually existed online, besides people claiming that they played it or they know somebody who played it. But because the video games were only located in Portland, Oregon, there isn't a wide scale of people who would have been able to even have the chance to play this video video game, which makes it even more almost believable that the amount of people who believe that this video game actually existed is a lot smaller than the amount of people who believe the video game didn't exist, and that's probably just because obviously the population of the world is way larger than the population of Portland. The video game stayed around for about a month in these arcades, and then they just completely vanished almost as quickly as they had appeared. A video game similar to this, Polybius, appeared in another arcade in 1998, but it vanished very, very quickly too. It was only there for about a week or something even less of that, so they say. Again, this is all alleged. But as you can see, the story of the video game Polybius is very unsettling, so naturally that is why we are talking about this on my channel today. Now again, the main consensus of the game Polybius on the internet is that it is just an urban legend or a creepypasta, but is it really that unbelievable that the government or some really big corporation would use a video game to conduct secret experiments on children? I just don't think that it's that crazy or out of this world that would happen. I feel like they hide things in kids' TV shows and commercials and things that are obviously geared toward children, like Disney movies for instance. So I just don't think that this idea is that crazy or out of this world. Now obviously, like I already mentioned, there isn't any concrete evidence that this game did actually exist, but there also isn't any evidence to concretely confirm that this video game did not exist. Many people who have claimed to have played Polybius have tried to recreate the game, but have failed. There is nothing compared to the original game, and nobody can find the original game or even something to prove again that the original game actually existed. And there is quite a large amount of people who claim that this is nothing more than an urban legend, but again, there is a very large amount of people who also claim that this game was very real. They claim that they played it, and not only that, they also claim that they experienced the horrors that went along with playing this video game. In 2006, a user on coinop.org named Steve Roach came forward claiming that he had worked at the company Sin Solution, which was the company that had allegedly created the game Polybius, at the time when the game was being created. He wrote, "I think it's about time I laid this to rest, however entertaining the speculation. My name is Steve Roach, who is primarily based in Czech Republic. Sin Solution was a company set up by myself and several other amateur programmers in 1978 that worked out of a component part for printed circuit boards that saw programming as a limited but profitable sideline." He continued to go on saying that their company had been contacted by a South American company that will not be named for legal reasons in 1980, asking them to develop a new kind of arcade game featuring revolutionary graphics. My pronunciation of the name that is coming up next. Marvik Vusek was the programmer who came up with the name Polybius. He had studied Greek mythology at Masaryk University and came up with the name because it sounded quite bold and mysterious, which is what we wanted, quite simply. By combining raster and vector visuals, a claim that several programmers had fiercely disputed the possibility of, the team hit upon an addictive, innovative title. The Sin Solution hackers were hearted and gave the game a limited release. But shortly after the release, we discovered terrible news. A 13-year-old boy from Lloyd District, Portland, Oregon, had suffered an epileptic fit while playing the game just 6 days after the machines had been installed. Company directors descended on the town to assess the situation, which may have accounted for the strange sightings of the men in black suits hanging around the machines. They were taken during the daylight, which would cause minor but noticeable incidents. As far as I know, and I was made aware, only 7 machines were distributed around the area, and no other health-related incidents were reported. Steve Roach's post was extremely long. Even the parts that I have decided to include in the video today were extremely long, and many of the people who came upon his post firsthand said that there was a lot of grammatical errors and a lot of typos in his write-up about Polybius, and although it was very detailed and did sound like it would have made sense, this still doesn't confirm that any of this had ever happened. I obviously am not going to jump the gun here and say that this proves any of this to be true, but I am going to say that this would make sense as to why all of these things were being said about the game Polybius, as this does give the kids in that area a good base to create a very creepy urban legend. Something else to note here is several people reached out to Steve Roach to try and get an interview, but he only ever did one, which was via email, and as far as I know, this interview didn't give any more detail or much more information about the game Polybius. And contradicting to what Steve Roach had said, many people have come forward online claiming that they did in fact play the video game Polybius and they did in fact experience the horrible after effects. While researching for today's video, I also came across a write-up on Reddit that said that despite what Wikipedia says, that this is not an urban legend and the game Polybius does really exist. This person claimed that they did in fact play the video game Polybius, but that there was nothing creepy or memorable about the game at all. They didn't know anybody who passed away or got severely ill from playing the video game. However, they did know a few kids who would play the video game for so long that they would get severe headaches. But this person stated that they believe that that is from nothing more than the annoyingly loud music that would come out of the video game itself. Something else that popped into my mind while researching for today's video is that could this be some kind of Mandela effect, glitch in the Matrix type deal? I do think that it is extremely odd that there are so many people claiming that this could be absolutely nothing more than an urban legend, and there obviously isn't any proof that this game actually existed, but there are people who are dead set that they have played this game, they experienced the after effects, they know somebody who played the game, and they can give you all this information and they full-heartedly believe it. Maybe this was some kind of glitch, I'm not really sure, but that was something that crossed my mind while researching for this topic. So now I'm going to tell you a story that is going to absolutely blow your mind that links to Polybius. This happened in October of 1981 when a boy by the name of Bobby Fletcher disappeared without a trace after playing the game Polybius at Coin Kingdom. His story is absolutely insane and it will take you for an insane ride, so let's just get right on into it. So Bobby was an avid arcade goer and he was pretty good at all of the games located in the arcade, so as soon as another game popped up that he hadn't played before, he was really excited and looking forward to playing this game and he wanted to master it. So he started playing Polybius, but after he had been playing it for several hours, he started to feel really ill. He said that he almost felt as if he was in a dream, except not in a good way. He felt absolutely terrible. Bobby decided to stop playing this video game and he started to head towards his house, but this dark, weird, dreamy feeling just lingered the entire time that he was walking home. Once he got to his house, he went into the kitchen to get himself a drink, and while he was getting water from the tap, that is when he noticed a group of dark figures approaching his home. He was completely paralyzed by fear at this point, and by the time that Bobby kind of could comprehend what was going on, these dark figures were already in his house and Bobby had completely passed out. When Bobby finally came to, he was in a very dark tunnel underground and he had been tied up and gagged. That is when he noticed an extremely mangled boy approaching him, and this boy helped Bobby get out of his restraints, and then the two of them took off running out of this tunnel. Bobby says that he recalls as they were running, he could hear people chasing them. Once the boys got to the exit of the tunnel, they both kind of went in two separate directions. And when Bobby realized where he was in a forest over 60 miles from his home in Portland. Bobby eventually made it to a gas station where he was able to call his parents. His parents came to the gas station to pick him up, and that is when Bobby told them, along with police officers, this crazy story over and over again. But because of how crazy this story sounded, nobody believed him. This specific story out of all of the Polybius stories is 100% true. Obviously, we can't confirm the game part, but if you type Bobby's name into Google, he was really missing. His parents had even filed a police report, or at least they tried to. The police were involved in this case. He was missing. So whether or not it has anything to do with the game, this story is 100% true. And I also don't understand why he would lie about the game if that wasn't what had happened, especially into adulthood, because Bobby 100% stands behind this story to this day. And I mean, like, this is insane. For your kid to be telling you that he got kidnapped and not believing him is crazy. Like, I don't know, I just think that this story is so crazy. Like, the kid was saying that he got kidnapped and everybody's like, no you didn't. Like, it's crazy. Some people don't believe Bobby's story at all, obviously. They believe that Bobby was just trying to run away and he got scared and that is why he called his parents. But Bobby had nothing on him at the time. He didn't have any money. He wasn't even wearing shoes. So you think that if he was going to run away, he would be a little bit more prepared than that. And another thing about this is that Bobby has stuck to this story for 40 years. You'd think that if he was making that up, he would have said by now that this wasn't true, but he has stuck to his story till this day. Okay guys, something else that I found to be extremely strange about Bobby's case is that located underneath the Coin Kingdom that Bobby was playing Polybius at, or at least that he claimed he was playing Polybius at, there have been discovered tunnels. These tunnels are actually related to a completely separate urban legend that could very well be true. This urban legend suggests that these tunnels were used for sex trafficking, and they were using these tunnels to get people from one spot to the ports or other areas without being detected. And that was located underneath the arcade where Bobby was playing Polybius, where he claimed he had gotten kidnapped from, or at least followed home and then kidnapped. That is just crazy. I just feel like this all cannot be a coincidence. Something has to have happened within this story. Maybe the whole thing's not true, but I feel like there has to be some truth in there. After Bobby had come out with his story, the arcade owner, the owner of Coin Kingdom, came out and said that he doesn't believe that there was ever a Polybius game located in his arcade. However, because of the story that Bobby was saying, many of the people in that area, they didn't necessarily believe Bobby's story, but they thought that maybe the arcade owner was a little bit sus. They thought that maybe he was involved in some kind of trafficking ring or something along those lines. So they started to really shut him out, and he ended up passing away in a drunk driving accident several months later. I don't really know, but this entire case just seems extremely twisted to me. I don't understand how anything didn't come from this, and I don't understand how Bobby is just being shoved aside, basically being told that his story is not true, when it very well could be. I don't know, guys. I thought going into this that I was going to be able to just dismiss Polybius as being true. I thought that I was going to classify it as an urban legend because so many other people do. But after really researching this case, I started to think that maybe there could be some truth to this. I also started to think that maybe it could be a mind control experiment, or maybe it is involved in something else sinister. You guys are going to have to let me know in the comments down below what you think of this case, and you're going to have to let me know what you think of the people's stories who we talked about in today's video. I also want to mention that at this time is also the time when MK Ultra was just kind of being noticed, and that is when it was confirmed to be true, which is why I think this could have very well have been some kind of mind control experiment, but who knows. Anyways, guys, that is the end of today's video. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below what you'd like to see in my future videos, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.